Gonna do the opening prayers. Today we will recite the yellow prayer book, all the opening prayers from page 1 until page 10, and some of them 3 times, all in English. Page 1. All mother sentient beings, limitless space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. All mother sentient beings, limitless space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. All mother sentient beings, limitless space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. For that purpose, until I attain Buddhahood, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. Until death, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. From today until this time tomorrow, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. I take refuge in the Buddhas until I attain the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to bodhicitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path. I take refuge in the Buddhas until I attain the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas, just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to bodhicitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path. I take refuge in the Buddhas until I attain the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas, just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to bodhicitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. May all mother sentient beings, limitless space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. An infinite array of worlds, each with 4 continents and the wealth of infinite oceans of realms. If I bring them all to mind and offer them without exception, please hold with compassion all the beings they contain. My body, enjoyments, and whatever I own, my aggregates, elements, and sense sources, my aspirations now and in times to come, as well as everything I grasp as mine. By offering them all, may I be blessed with the end of self-grasping. completely liberated from the bounds of real and unreal, transcending the names and concepts of arising, cessation and abiding, coming and going, affirmation and denial. The supreme mandalam is the natural state. By offering it, may I be blessed to attain the state of Buddhahood. Om Guru Devanda Kini Ratna Mandala Pradeja Soha. Namo, to the Guru, the utter purity of all appearance and existence. I offer all appearance and existence arisen as the primordial ground. I supplicate you, may the three realms be completely liberated. Please grant blessings to empty samsara from its depths. Lord with 5 omniscient wisdoms, crown ornament, kind one with loving nature, precious protector of beings, heart of all Buddhas, inexpressible by words or thought, I supplicate you from the core of my mind. Bless me from within the state of Dharmata. Bless me to realize this mind, primordially pure and unborn, as the unfathomable Dharmakaya. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma, of the greater and lesser vehicles, and the teachings common to both, according to the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings.
Shakti Jerbu Shabdungu Janzal, Torjin Jenjen, the Lonaro Dam, Albamala, Juja Gambo Ba, Pamondra Ba, Jawan, Dogomba, Kajulama Namje, Da Jonje, Dananda Nazara, Damje, Lama Labala, Jizozon, Lasan Yuntin, Jamsung Alava, Tindre Dunjindre Begele, Zor, Jinjin Zava, Lama, Jija, Kosong, Dojes, and Lam Tata, Dogge, Julan Pute. Dogge Timba Dansim Jija Don Jajim Bondra Parasunja Labdo So Teni Chuji Tropo Samala Teni Trahidele Hyatang Terenta Sukter number Jarmak Jutak De Hivakari Teni Tangaranso Chutsu Karma Reginand Tampichu Driake Sunan Yubande Sunan Chimboyin Sambak Tony Tene Chukang Drumnayang Yimping Jancho Seng Zisim Tony Rogo Yudu Tangazo Marang Chuhin King and a count of Toke Yimping Samnoya Ji Tapta Techi number Chusin King Tamjaka Janchok Sem Yajine Tene Chunin Baina Tene Semnala Droa Hiwa Yuri Tachi take Jachimbo Pinto Maton Bainaya Tarangaran Suchu Janila Chuhi Junin Bakapso Tene Sem Lulu Jibo Chasway Natia Tene Given Driver Dewas Tida Tena Chaka Yuzam Sanjuk Sun Chot Semji Ronans.
Tashitele, Madama friends. So, sorry. We're going to speak about the Namgyalma Sadhana. And so if we just are able to listen to the Dharma and practice the Dharma for just a short while, like an hour, even for minutes, the merit is great. And whenever we practice the Dharma, we have to cultivate altruistic motivation of bodhicitta. So for me, when I'm teaching the Dharma, that's what I'm trying to do as well as I can. And also encourage you, when you're listening to the Dharma, to cultivate such a motivation of bodhicitta. Because then when you listen to the Dharma, you will listen to the Dharma with joy and also a peace of mind. And even if the Dharma does not become like vastly beneficial to you, just for the time being, for an hour or two, at least if we listen and teach with such a motivation, then for that time, as a result, our mind will be in a state of rest and peace. because it is said that the result of practicing virtue is happiness. So therefore, in the beginning, please cultivate such a supreme motivation of bodhicitta.
Teneta Namgyama de loju jungze hyoko yore loju judu tangwan rin so. Tene yungdin tong ne tene depa je songko yorwa ten ta loju de Namgyama de jirtang ta loju de ni hyeke yore ni karer sen je layol de chungwa loju je mayor de chungwa loju sen tanda songko yore ten de layol de kandabes chungri hyubayena tene jirtang layol si ba de lai lu hi ba de ta rowa rekto nang ke yang 내가 그 대지 그찬이 대지 무슨 소휴게 되네 내지 차도 요러와 되네 드나 되네 라이프 따라들 로드 팀바 이거는 되네 제요바레스 되네 콩 되네 달 같이 수남라고 도스마 세네 되네 책 두시야라 샤마 두마도 라미 바레 되네 되다 제 암졸라다 드랑님 받는다 이드몽 어투 저런 야마 드나네 되네 책 두시인로노 책 두시도 되네 다 마지 잠블랭 센다 제 뭐여다 네미 발마 젠근도스 데디야 제 뭐lun라고 탑투금만도스 다 둔로 되네 레미 바든라 그지 지진라고 당 드런라고 텔레소바케다 지와 둔 잠링건도스 되네 대소 그 지와 대소 조차도 되네 냐와라 쳔푼로노 되네 냐와네 동아 장민 반용건도스 되네 야 물리직 토보왕의 세바이나 되네 왕보 마창바 매 롱와라소바 된다게 중용건도 세네 암초라 자다 투용바리 대하나 인게 되네 라근 치대제 그 되네 그 루즈보라 자마토야 나오당 되네 메도 그 진차라소바 담지 닝로와당 다 대만보여라 다소 찹상 송레스
So first so first I would like to share kind of a brief story of Namgyama, because it is said that when you remember and you hear the story, then inspiration arises, like a clear faith or inspiration arises, and when you know about the qualities, then faith arises. So regarding the story of Namgyama, there is two different stories, and one is where the story that has kind of appeared that started in the God realm, and then another story that started in the human realm. And so the story of the God realm is, first, the God realm is a place where beings experience the most perfect bliss and happiness among all the other 6 realms of samsara. And so there was a god called Lodro Denpa, and so it was time for his life to come to an end. So the merit for being a god came to an end, and he only had 7 days left to live. And so when he approached that time, he heard a voice speaking to him. And that voice said, in 7 days, your life will be over. And then you will take birth in a miserable state of existence on that continent of Jambudvipa, this planet Earth. And not even a human being, you will not even be a human being. You will be an animal for 7 lifetimes. You will be a mouse and a snake and different kind of animals for 7 lifetimes. And then after those 7 lives, you will take birth in hell, where you will experience endless suffering. And then after that life, you will finally be born as a human being, but not a precious human being, a human being with impaired mental faculties and like sense faculties for example, you will be blind and so forth. And so he heard this voice, and that was the beginning of the decline. So his body began to give off a negative, a bad odor, and then his flower garlands started to wither and so forth.
Teni deta te sundu ta Koran ke teni layo wambo jazin la shune ta kola tenda te mando pas chungundo teni kare gore sine ya jazin la shudu teni jazin ke ta teni gombo tseba me la teni andon lo sonde teni gombo tseba me la ta chubuti mambo ji phuna teni ta tara lavlo timba ke donga ta kanga so ya hyu tena vedu teni ta teni gobo tseba meke teni hyarni kangyang masong bare hyarni masong yina hyarni zomzam ze tena vede yode teni gobo tseba meke uwe tsuktor ne teni uzern chuna teni uwe tsuktor ne uzern teni kongra ke hyardo hyong gobo tseba meke hyardo hyong ne teni ma ta song yung bare kare song risina teni tele teni ta tara tsuktor namgyama shibade song kongra orerwa teni ta 공부 제밤에 콩 집어 많이 봐 산제 제와 만보 그 송열을 했더니 남자마 종 대답하지 요리스데 대다 드롭동 드라제 바이나 되네 따라 라이프 되네 쳐와래 도 도밍게 쳐와들 도 두고 요리소나 되네 대한제 산제 제와 만보 그 송여바래 송데 콩 집어 그 송바 많이 봐다 대드니 자진을 쳤소네 대 자진게 따라대 라로드 템발테 냠니 지지디 Teni tuminga chawala tawaris. Loyal tenu sungkong tenda.
So then this god went into the presence of the Lord, the sovereign of the gods, Indra, and he said, so I've heard that I'm going to die. What can I do about that? And then Indra said, go to see the Buddha Amitayos. So then he went to see the Buddha Amitayos, and he offered him many clouds of offerings. And so then the god, Lord Tayara, was it? Lord Dempa then shared his hardship with Amitayos and asked for his help. And at first, Amitayos said nothing. He just smiled. And then from Amitayos' crown, a top ornament, a top knot, light began to radiate. And then it entered from his top knot back into Amitayos' mouth. So it went into his mouth. And that's when he started speaking. And he said that, and that's when he spoke the Namgyalma Rani Mantra. And he said that, and it's not just me speaking this mantra, many millions and billions of Buddhas have spoken this mantra. So if you practice it, if you practice the Namgyalma or the Ushnisha Vijaya Tarani mantra, then you will be able to turn back untimely death. And so, having said that, then the god went back to the abode of Indra, and then he practiced the Ushnisha Vijaya Tarani mantra, and in this way he became liberated from the untimely death.
Tene da siso dakja ga domba hyakja teba ke tene yor yangpa jindo sumba renda. Tene ten du dan da jetang ter tsuktor ge ju hi ba de la tene tsuktor dukar seman ra tang. Tene de ana yin ke da tarate tsuktor tarate da gandar sanje ke tara tsuktor no sumba da ju mambo yo ba res. Then there the Tara took the number Jama, she bezon Tarat, Tinitzer Yongo Yobare. Then the Tanda Pion, then do that the Tuktok Jew Shogoyete, the Higan Hubadra. Then that then the Dalapion, that Jachimbo Yobare, then Neka which to me down, to make Chavala Suba Dobata, Tiana Yingage, Ne Dun Lazoba Tamje, that ledge dripper. 강 소소게 레사게 블레지 드바테 teni ta pa sap ne mi pa chi gwai na teni nda ta chuk ta namja ta nyamni che na teni susu ke te pa ke to ni cha zo lo te pa ke hingsa de ha cha timbo yo go ro wa te ga la teni cha chuk sem ta ke chi sim na teni de ke ta che tanda ke le ji de ba tham che se menu pa che mi pa res.
So this is the story of the God Ram, and then the story of the human Ram it's derives from the Buddha Shakyamuni himself, and the Buddha Shakyamuni it appeared when the Buddha Shakyamuni went to Vaishali, and the Namgyalma or Ushnisha Vijaya Tarani also again emerged from his top knot. And there are actually many different tantras or Taranis that have emerged from the Buddha Shakyamuni's top knot. And so they generally belong to the category of the umbrella or the kind of victorious white umbrella. And then from that, many other different Taranis emerged, such as the Ushnisha Vijaya Tarani. And so from the human perspective, Namgyalma Mantra, Ushnisha Vijaya Tarani, emerged from the Buddha Shakyamuni's top knot. And regarding the benefits of this Tarani, the benefits are so many. But for example, the benefit of reciting this Tarani is that it has the power to turn away untimely death and also to pacify disease and demonic influences, karmic obscurations, and so forth. So it has the power to destroy all of these negativities. But then when we engage in the practice of the Ushnisha Vijaya Tarani, it's important to also do so with from within a firm state of faith and also bodhicitta. And if you practice on the basis of that, then this practice really has the power to bring to an end all karmic obscurations.
Tene namgyama la ta tupa mambo yore ta tusunan sungo yo tsendala che sunam peya tene tumi ge chewa la joba tam dang lakpar do che ne mimba ge borsung wa sita mimbe jo mata ba ge tene ne pa mambo la tene tumi ge chewa la joba tuso ge pinyo sungo yo bare tene tsende chang ge pinyo ma yin ba tene chewa sima la tene tabu hinkan la chewa la tene teso me ba te tabu to ne tene tamba komba nang ke ta pinyo mambo song yo bare.
There are also many praises to Ushnisha Vijaya that also mentioned many of the benefits of her practice. For example, when one practices Ushnisha Vijaya, then the merit, even in this life already, will increase, and one will be protected from untimely death. Or for example, it is said that through this practice, one will be protected from untimely death that is related to even terminal disease that ordinary physician cannot treat. Even that one can be healed of. And not only will one receive benefits in this life, but after passing from this life, there is no doubt, it is said, that one will be born in the Pure Lands.
Ta teni ta nyamni sibala ti drupthap de yigya chidu teni thomar chandro yore pardu simji yore ten ngaran su namba ji yimba chani teni ta jamne kuncho somna chapsun ro gowa ta chad yore ro go jimsin te jamne kuncho sombo te ke nekap dang tharthok ge dunga le yongsu chop thupa namya mala ba yimba chani teni ngaran su chapsun ro sa manawa te ta cha yong yore tini di oma de la da simji hiba de kantar je damja na wa cha de yore nga chu ge nga sangje gondo kan he ge yo ma re de dong le de na wa cha de yore nga sangje gondo nga sangje go na gare chi go sin yindung dog go si nga so chongkhang jing na jala nyo go nang pekha phate go yindo nga sangje go na nge rimba ndo de yindung dog go si ta den de ni ba de simji hi ba de ta de da je cha de yore de be na ngarang zo ke sang chu de simji go yore ga de ina.
And then coming to the sadhana of Nisha Vijaya, the actual practice. Practice begins with taking refuge and cultivating the motivation of bodhicitta. And so since we are Buddhist practitioners, we must take refuge in the three jewels because the three jewels are the ones who are able to protect us from all temporary and ultimate or long-term suffering. And the three jewels are a trustworthy, never deceiving source of refuge, and a refuge that will never be mistaken. So we take refuge in the three jewels, and then secondly, we cultivate the motivation of bodhicitta, and that is like taking a vow. It's a promise. So generally, we think that I want to attain enlightenment. We might not actually speak that out loud, but we actually do think that I want to attain enlightenment. But then how can we attain enlightenment? It is only if we cultivate an altruistic mind. For example, if you go to a store and want to buy something, you have to pay for it. You have to hand over your money, and then you get the thing you want to buy. And so similarly, if you want to attain enlightenment, the price for enlightenment is the altruistic mind, is bodhicitta. And so that's why we always say, in the beginning, we always have to cultivate this motivation of bodhicitta.
Kuncho song malaba jimchin de karirsan tambo nga zu kuncho som se na che loga che lo yuban da wo che te nga so lamda ya hyo undu te go yure lo is jebra je ta ba yinda. Tene ren ji te kuncho kundu ju ngo shiba de so zawla ma de cha de yore. Ta zawla ma de so rani malaba te ta ba je ngi hin rang to ba ina. Tene kuncho kundu ju ngo re. O ta de yang tarong che so go lo de rem ji yar jin do de tar so ge ju ge sim ju ge 다 대행 님보세난다 샘주 고 강인 바 대 차다 요르 대게 소소소소로 러요 말이 다른 알아서 제 갑가서 소소소소로 르되 완다오데 마릭 비 이왕도 효는데 되니 소소소소로 고 컨로 요르와 당아서 그 잠내 타르토도 무시인데 되니 알아서 그 희게 대행 님보다 차한데 대그 코랑코랑 고 거던 거요 말이 대는데 다 잠도 사마나 봐 시바데 단라제 차한 거 요자 네
And so why do we say that the three jewels are the undeceiving source of refuge, a trustworthy source of refuge? So in the beginning, we don't really understand because we see the three jewels as something that is separate from us, something out there, and then we encounter it when we enter the path. And then as we practice the path, gradually we recognize that the actual jewel, or meaning the refuge, the essence of the real refuge, is our root guru. And then we understand how the jewels are trustworthy and undeceiving, because we are completely certain that the root guru will not deceive us. So then we continue the practice, and again in stages gradually. What we finally recognize is that root guru, which is our trustworthy source of refuge, is actually our own mind, our own Buddha nature, or we call it the nature of the mind. And the nature of your mind, your true nature, never deceives you. So sometimes now it seems that it does, because we are often controlled by ignorance, and then it seems that we are really deceiving ourselves, we're fooling ourselves. But then on the ultimate level, on the ground, your true nature, Buddha nature, is never deceiving, it's always undeceiving. It is your true nature. And so for this reason we say that the sources of refuge, the jewels, are undeceiving.
Tene te oto da jirem de la omshunin das janamba za sobawa ema koham shibandere. Da den de dambo omshunin da shibakabso tene darate chu tang chu jin sini yore tenan ke chu tamje da gogo yore. Tene yang zungwa dan zimba se ni yudu zungwa york namba da de tombani da gogo yore se. Tombani korang donjung overton toni imbala nga choke toni zogo yomare. Toni imba ha gogo yore. Tenza shunida jana shibukapso tani jana shib soso ge yurjin shibade shibzi korang yang tombare ya se. Shiju ge yorde tombare ya. 다 대답을 여러 요지 니가 동바에 바하고는 다 철로 쳐 여바 히바데 차용 거 여러와 대인자 되니 다 소바와 에마 고함스 다 간더지 다 중화된 진배도 비추 탐제 돈이리스 다 돈이스 돈장파 제 르몽그라나 이 돈장 차마선 바지 가르스네 딘 진지 그 유진 코랑양 동바차 대철로 쳐 여바다 차안도 다 히바드 랑긴 그 사브란 유사브란 인제 다 대답을 차야 다 우사와텔라야 되는 데버그란긴 되는 용딘 분선 조버란 인제 차도 요래 니마라 니마 고즈르요 바 인도 되네 땅아랑 소가 담보 대답지 지고요 바래.
And then next we come to the generation stage, which is on page 2, and it starts with the mantra Om Shunyata Jnana Vajrasvabhava Atma Koham. So Om Shunyata is the empty nature of phenomena and let's say the objects, phenomena as in objects, and the subject perceiving the phenomena, so the perceiver and the perceived, are empty of inherent nature. And that means that we don't have to, they don't become empty, we don't make them be empty, but just we have to recognize that this is their inherent nature. So the perceiver and the perceived are empty of inherent nature. That is shunyata. Jnana is here that so just as the first one, the shunyata, more refers to the perceived, the phenomena, and then the jnana is the mind that perceives, which is actually awareness, and that is also empty. So both are empty. It is just like together they are like recognizing that it becomes like pouring water pouring into water, becoming all one emptiness. And then Svabhava Atma Koham is that, so we have established that all phenomena, perceiver and perceived, are empty, but that does not mean that they are nothing, that they are non-existent. Just like they're not like the horns of a rabbit or something like that, something that's non-existent. But even though they are empty, like pouring into water, also their nature is luminosity, clear, there's clarity. And the nature of luminosity is bliss. And the nature of bliss is perfection. It is utter perfection. And it is just like what appears is just like the sun and the sun rays appearing.
Den don cer semnang lo choa ji ongo yore so la de karchim bo cha de yore deni dio da sunkor gomya shiba de da sunkor shibande da sunkor korang la ji gom de na che mer dorji cho la so ba ke deni tambo pha nozi thanje pha de deni dorji mer de tamje ke kor ne che se parchi nang na ma to ma mambo che yore de dor de na joban ji tin sungong ko so ne 수문 콜로 매중 장축 셈소 문에 잔에 나랑 로이나 추냠니 개요 말때 te pe che tenda sem te tindu tene che so ta teng ne rin do tin ya do che samsa chonang do yong do ga re che yong do sam tong de nga zo ge no ji je pa no ba mi ji chi de shu che chung cha do ge de gam ne chi je de wa na de ge pin to no ji to go yo ma chung cha do ge pa 다 다른 거 좀 매를 당해서 망보직 제대로 되게 대상 핑크 요 말. 못하면 망보요. 매그 못하게 심진 요래 매라도 좀 매그 두고 요 말에 졸라라 저거 다 두고 요 말와. 그런서 저 종아 예수소를 자원으로 요래 되는 누가 요 라만탑도 요래 되라. 다 잔초그 샘 지자드 못하면 가래를 됐으나 문내다네. 소소 남과 동바나 이 차한 거도 반낭 동바나 Barna Tombanan Drayoner in Tsun Janary, Kayak Yamada. That deep bed is a con magic textbook landing it makes some the death some on the tone. Textbook the Munepan and Ankana Patan Yalendochi. Dang it inside some sort of soon color maison janjos, see but Danga del last George go some sandoji. The Pakala Janjo, nothing will take Janako, Mantaya Data, Uncle, like Pelaquaja the Data doa. Jang Dota. That day the Janjok sent he bought the Semnalo do, did it go? Barnan Tombana, Yin charges, did it? Nosy Ganga, no Masoba child. Then the Summon Coloya Hutiris.
When we recite and when we read this, it's also important that an actual feeling, we really feel that, the meaning of that. And so then next, and we come to some page, starting on page 3, then there's the visualization of the protection sphere. And so there are many parts to that. So we visualize, for example, those mountains of flames and Vajra canopies and a Vajra ground that kind of keep outside all obstructors and harm doors and so on, so that obstacles cannot enter from the outside. However, Jigten Sumgön actually summarized the protection sphere in one statement. He said that the most supreme, the most powerful protection sphere is bodhicitta. For example, I myself do not have a lot of Dharma practice, but sometimes I really do feel that this is, when I remember those words, that this is really true, this is really how it is. Because if you have bodhicitta, then nothing can harm you at all. If you have all kinds of protection, different powerful weapons and so forth, that also has its limits, because there are some kinds of harm doers who are not opposed by different kinds of weapons. So, for example, each of the elements has kind of its lord or kind of a sovereign of the elements, and so there are certain deities, basically, or spirits that inhabit the elements, like a fire god and a water god and so on. So, for example, you can't defeat the fire god with fire or the water god with water, because they have already gained dominion over that particular element. But then if you have bodhicitta, then there is really nothing that cannot be defeated, and nothing can defeat you. Because when you have bodhicitta, you become like empty space. And when you're attacked, when you're empty space and you're attacked, then nothing can hurt you. You can throw knives and weapons and arrows through space, but it doesn't stick anywhere in space. Space remains unaffected by it. So, for example, if someone insults you and you just close your eyes and the mind becomes like space, then it really feels like that person is throwing an arrow into space. There's just no target. And so this is how it becomes when you have bodhicitta. On the other hand, if you have various weapons to defend you but no bodhicitta, then you're much more hardened than this, like a protection sphere, which is like a wall, for example. Then if somebody hits a wall, then the wall can be hit with a hand, for example. But if you're like space, then nothing can hit space, nothing can touch space. So there's no harm that can be done to space, and therefore bodhicitta really is the most powerful, it's the best protection sphere.
Then the chutamje taba tombani ke tigran yinti ganni then pemada dawa tusuka tendo then drum carpos che yorta drum carpo de maran so ke shiba sim kurang ke chunsin rawo chi chade yorwa then di ke tele ta kare yongo yorosina ta namjan chudin ta namja chudin de jirdang ke 중콩 rawo de kare jongri sena muma sanje 양바 진도 유드 데니 콩 다꺼 냥일은데야 그다 저두순로 던라제 랍데베드 데니 다데니 냥일 만데로지 먼투는 유로지 제나 소와 담네 데니 산제게 군르게 끝세데 다와 솜라 파타 생네 다와 솜라 진지라 바레시 데니 티캅즈다 요르 양바 진범 담제게 데니 데라 tarade number jam chutin hiband de de yin yomare sorry ta chutin technology rawo te tere
so from within so we're on page 3, so then from that state of emptiness, the empty nature of all phenomena, then on top of a sun and a moon is a white broom syllable, which represents your own mind, your own awareness. And so then that transforms into this all-victorious stupa. And so the all-victorious stupa, or the Vijaya stupa, the origin of that stupa is from the time of the Buddha Shakyamuni, when the Buddha Shakyamuni dwelt in Vaishali and the time of his passing into nirvana was approaching. His disciples, the people of Vaishali, asked him, "Do not pass into nirvana soon. Please stay with us longer." So they supplicated him, and through this supplication, through the Buddha's blessings, he was able to extend his life for another 3 months. And it was during that time that the people of Vaishali then began to construct the Vijaya stupa.
lokum bachine tera gom go yore ramchi ten deni tsukta number jamate ta karnataka chi yore sidu tene kumdo karpu tera jinji yore si tene chetang tsukta number jamate ngobo gthoni tene chuju nawan thae chado yobari tene longchu zobu ko etardu chi inde gombo tsepa me chado yore tene ta trubka wang de sebayena tene 대긴 협방아에 난게 대긴 협방 넘버 난제게 되니 드로용바게 트부거 신다 간더 자와 탐지 이휴롱도제 손 남주 잡진 가시는 버지게 양서 가서로 송고요와 단데 찍바레 딜 라탐제 라 찍라 되니 라 참지 창도요바 지당 그데리데 감델라 되니 나란조 주거 롱거 주거 세네다 야와치디 주름라고 던다베네 용바레스
So there's the stupa then, and then inside the vase of the stupa, again upon a seat of lotus and a moon, multicolored lotus and a moon, is white broom, and that then transforms into myself appearing as white Ushnisha Vijaya. So this is called the generation stage, where we gradually, step by step, visualize the deity. So we then appear as the deity Ushnisha Vijaya, and Ushnisha Vijaya is white in color, and her essence is her Dharmakaya essence is Amitabha. The Sambhogakaya essence is Amitayus, and the the Nirmanakaya essence of the five Buddha families is Vairocana. So generally, as His Eminence Garchen Rinpoche always reminds us, within the expanse of primordial wisdom, all the Buddhas are one. So generally, they're all the same, and all the deities are complete within a single deity. But just here in this specific context, this is how the division is made in terms of Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya.
Ate tene kumdo karpo te yingo ate tsundong karere sina tene tan jiktin somne nabar jawa tsundong chado yore. Tene la tamje soso la ta jola ma te ben rewe je yong hiya yo marwa. Sama jola tudu yore. Tene jola tubade koranzu jo shibade ta molam dav yong bokapsu, tsosa yong bokapsu kang drumna ya tik teta do tene dichane ta nubade hyukchiya do tene jiktin somge ta kandarche dumi ken chewa la soba tamje le re sama ta tu karajo darate jiktin somle tene nambar jawa shibata tsundong te chado yobare. Tene ta tela hyar som yorwa, hyar som saje yodo, hyar som nang hyar iye hyar serpo osi, iye hyar de serpo yimbande, tene jawa tamje jibar sibu yum, tene chuku yum hirsimam, ten tsungko yobare. Tene ta yung tarate, yung yar mungpo chade, yung yar mungpo de, tene karar sina ta, ngaran su che chibda la su bogo du tamje, tene jomba, Gangla Kandar Tela Tetumboko Toneta, Jomba Tenzongo Yobares.
And what does the white color represent? It represents the being completely victorious over the three realms, the three worlds of existence. And so now, there is no result that comes from no cause. So every result, every power that is achieved has a cause. Everything depends on causes. And so it was at a time when those deities were still practicing themselves, and they made certain aspiration prayers, and they accumulated merit in a certain way. They practiced in a certain way. So depending on exactly how they practiced and how they prayed, certain powers are developed. And for example, in her case, the power of overpowering or being all victorious over the three worlds implies that she has the power to turn back untimely death. So that is the white color. And then she has three faces. The right face is yellow, and the yellow face is a sign of, or represents her being the great mother that is the source of arising of all the Buddhas. And then the left face is blue, and that is a sign of defeating all demons, specifically the demon of the Lord of Death, and also having the power to tame beings according to their needs.
Tene da hyar sumbo de la jin sum yori ta tenang ge tambo u hyar karpo de la jin sum yori te ka karen sun sen du sum ji chu tam je de salar chimba as yindu dropa la tene tarati yindu ji ge ten chimba yogoro ying ta kawang mu pa tam jin chin ji ge chimba tene ye du sum si ba ten chung ko yori tene ye la jin sum yo ba de tene 다 자와 탐지에 다 도르지 섬시 차마 찍발도 만순시의 옹아 홍성 간다 거 도르지 송 도르지 툭 도르지 섬 댄송거 요래 자와 탐지 중 오인바 데니다 용 샤르텔라 진섬 요데바 데게 데니 뉴몬 독섬데 좀 버시바 댄송도 차도 요바래 다 던라윈도 라직 돈다 거던 이 히세 라직 판지바的냠도 tele gari drusare gari yongsare jiram de yamu gonswaina teni sarhyart ko yorba dele ten suso ke aje mpa ndaw de hyukchen roya to sola je prachimbo yore mpa
And then each of the three faces has 3 eyes. So first the central white face has 3 eyes, and these 3 eyes are a sign of her seeing the 3 times simultaneously. And so in order to be able to accomplish the benefit of others, one must possess such knowledge. One must know the minds, the kind of characters and the capacities of sentient beings. So she has this seeing into the 3 times and seeing the minds of all beings. That's her power. So that's the central face. Then the 3 eyes of her right face are a sign of the 3 Vajras, which is the essence of body, speech, and mind of all the Buddhas, also often represented by the syllables Om Ahung, so called the 3 Vajras of body, speech, and mind. And so that is a sign that her nature is the nature of all the Buddhas, body, speech, and mind. And then the left faces 3 eyes are a sign of her having defeated the 3 poisons, the afflictive emotions. And so then if we continue and we visualize the deity accordingly, and if we practice the visualization, the generation stage well, then all of these enlightened activities and qualities of that particular deity will be accomplished. So then also as one gains stability in the practice, also one's aspiration, one's inspiration in the practice will increase.
Teni chewe mamchut nimbasi ta mamchut la cho na yikyu tenra ben ze yomar de chungze ma nin de wanda ochi yor ta de gandar chemi ge lapar de jamba chemi da ninje chemi ge tini simjin tamje matongwa den chung go yore.
Then she has 3 fangs, and so her general expression is not completely wrathful, but more semi-wrathful. So the semi-wrathful is expressed by her 4 fangs, and the 4 fangs represent the 4 immeasurables, in particular immeasurable love and immeasurable compassion. The fangs also mean that she never lets go of sentient beings.
다 차제 요래 차제 되게 다 노예 완도 센드 다라데 팔람이라지 총고 요래 또 손다는 게 진 휴거인 팔람이라지 양다 바다와 양도 또 봐라 파박람 되니 다 되게 다 잘하는 주란조 고바 요나 되니 고바데 다라다지니 되니 텔만 이렇게 된나 유자노고 요러봐 된다 차 예예 용예 예예 나가 담보데 가르진도 유르스나 되니 나소 도르지 단다진진도 유르 나소 도르지도 춘동 가르스도 나촌디 레이야된 총고 요래 레이야 남중 아주 찾아배 걸지도 나소 도르지게 찾아배 걸다 용고 요래 레이야된 총도 되니 샤르갈 로서 너 마상장 시바데 샤르갈 로서 서 너말 장장 로서 보라 너 말아 장장 그래 너지 이게 에란도 봐 많이 인트라일 아테레 나소 도르지테 레이게 토미드 드반 총지 데니 데오드 차 예니바데 그 가렌진도 유르시나 데니 다라테 추지 마보게 땡도 다라티 오바미 지거지 진도 요 데가레나 딩히망아 빼망 테냐다 오바미 거데 저런서 바제트 해져 오바미 지거데 콩 동구돌 추거 공월 상제 심바이나야 데니 Hindu drabala triple go de Hindu junche me ba ten chung dong de yin song. Tene wa ba min sin de yobar.
So then she has 8 hands, 4 left and 4 on the right. And generally altogether her 8 hands, her 8 arms represent the 8-fold noble path. So if there's some time, at some point I will explain these. So now for those 8 hands, so in brief, so the 4 right hands, the first right hand holds a crossed vajra, and that is a sign of accomplishing the 4 activities. And also when we, for example, perform the lotus circle mudra, also there is a kind of a crossed vajra in there. And so in any case, those 4 directions of that vajra are, the east is white, and the south is yellow, and the west is red, and the north is green. And those 4 sides of that vajra, of the crossed vajra, are a sign of the unimpeded accomplishment of the 4 enlightened activities. So that's the first right hand. The second right hand holds a red lotus with Amitabha on top. And actually I was thinking about that before quite a bit, what that really means. Maybe you're thinking about that as well. So in general, we have said the form of Amitabha represents the Dharmakaya, which is a sign that in essence she's already awakened, enlightened. But then for the sake of sentient beings, in order to benefit others, then the deity appears as Nirmanakaya. So therefore this implement here together represents the unceasing accomplishment of the benefit of other sentient beings.
Tene cha ye sumba de ke tene ndan zin de yore nda de tap chung ji cha de yore. Tene ye yiba de ke chojin cha ja de ga du na tene ngaro su jimba ton ya ton rewa tene tambi chu to ne tene da ngaran sola. Tene jimba ke da karsa karo. Jum che ba. Tene jimba na tama ta den chung yo bare.
And then the third right hand holds an arrow, and that is a sign of skillful means or method. And then the fourth hand, the right hand, holds is in the mudra of supreme giving. And the mudra of supreme giving is a sign of the perfection of generosity. That is the unceasing giving or generosity of giving the holy dharma.
Tene yung la cha ye yo banang ke da tambo dingzap dang je de xiapan zin de yo song do. De xiapan de ke ta jirtang so nuzi tham je tene dambar se ba ta tenra ji sung ko yo re de zo che hu nin zin ni zin bi nin zin ke lo de tene ta 저 잼이진 그 담대와 대충 거 바로 되니 예 우니 바데가 유연진데 유여데 히랍그 총동 자그 요를라 되니 무접 담제 처 꾸꾸야게 대한 좋은 거 요래 되니 다 예선 바데게 문제 바스 문제 받잡지 짐바 히반데 다 문제 바 히반데 되니 지 따라데 사주멜롱 라소바 신종아 tene nangke jing nyomong bala so ba thamje la tine tene ne na cha la so ba de thamje la ta chopar se ba ten chung ko yo ba ro ba tene ye da de ye ye ba de ke tene bomba den jing de yo ba da bomba de tene chimi che ye che ju ko da ma tene de thamje ke de gang de yo ba tene da ngarang chu ke tene chukta number jama la chap chu ba ina tene ngarang chu la gang che zo ko lo semlan doba yinda tene ngora thamji jume cheba teni yungsa ta jukong do ta the sun chung go yorwa.
And then she has 4 left hands, and in the first left hand she holds a noose held in the threatening mudra. Noose, or like a lasso in the threatening mudra. And with that noose or lasso, the lasso binds all harm doers. And the real harm doers are our dualistic thoughts. So that lasso prevents them from arising. So it keeps them down, it binds them. And then in the second left hand, she holds a bow, which represents wisdom and also the ability to draw in all accomplishments or all siddhis. Then the third left hand is in the mudra of granting protection from fear, and on the external level that may mean to be protected from any harm caused by the 4 elements like earth, water, and so forth. And also on the inner level, it means to be protected from the afflictive emotions, which lead to various difficulties like illness, sickness, and so forth. So protection from all such kinds of fear. And then number 4, in the fourth hand, she holds a vase, and that vase is filled with the pure elixir of longevity and immortality. So if we seek refuge in Ushnisha Vijayam, then as we desire, all accomplishments, all siddhis will arise unceasingly. So taking refuge is like the source of such arising.
Ta teni deke Namgyama ke teni cha ye ke te teni ya teni jikti wa so karpo jinre zerwa yeng do yobare te ke ta hyo ke le thamchi kare dog nuba den chung go yobare teni cha yon de la tara te cha na dorjin yeng do yobare te ke ta trabu gun le kang dog wa na ya te thomi de nuba den chung go yobare te teni ke sa do ta peman jing do yobare te ta drama ta trawa den chung go yorwa teni cha ye lang ngayap zong de te ke sami ke dewa chung go yor te ka chen bor ma so sakje ke dewa te mata bar njora re ko ngaro yin suro mi ba cha ndo go yor teni ngarang su dhugo jal re chi bare ningong kala se de ningong dhugo jar gonda yang dhugo to ndo wa sakje ke dewa se te na bore teni taron tel tes dug jure ko dunga ma mon re go yor sami ke dewa ki ba de ko la na yang njora mi ba te na indu te ten chung go yor se te teni 다 디솜 델라테니 조솜스 나르 남자라 근한 게다 조솜데 대답을 진에세 사나 dortira
ni somebody ale
kokson de namgyamara
ni sana dorti lekha tu piore
tapukle
so then we're on the next page 4. So then so visualizing ourselves as Ushnisha Vichaya to my right. So to her right is a white Avalokiteshvara or Chinrizik, and so white in color, and holding a lotus in the left hand and a yak-tail fan in the right. And so the Chinrizik represents the accomplishment of the pacifying enlightened activity. And then to her left is blue Vajrapani, and he represents the accomplishment of all wrathful activities. And so in the right hand, they are holding a yak tail fan, and that actually has a very significant meaning, because the yak tail fan represents the undefiled true bliss. And that's actually important to understand, because undefiled bliss is very much unlike defiled bliss, because defiled bliss is the impermanent, ordinary kind of bliss. For example, this morning we feel very well, and then that changes in the evening. We do not feel well, or it's like eating food. Basically, it's not lasting. So if you're eating something now in the morning, you will be hungry again later on. And so it's not just defiled bliss. Actually, this defiled bliss actually even gives us also a lot of suffering. And then the undefiled bliss is everlasting. It never changes. So these are the three principal deities. So Ushnisha Vijaya, Avalokiteshvara, and Vajrapani of the nine, right? Of the nine Vijaya deities.
Cho yala, Taranga Supernan, the Madonna, Cho yala, Cho yorida, the Dutana yorwa. Then that Cho yede, then he heard the Moyoas, then his Chala Radens in the Baji yore. Then take a current sons that Atarati, Chipdag do jom, Patensung yore. Mario Tara Pumbo do jomba. The Pumbo Latine, Carresina. Teni ngami bala nga dami bala dancing teni phombo tin jing ko yodi phombo ran yin ji ma ba ta to go yor kandar tambo la de ngo hi ne te nyam lin che ne su su phombo ran yin ji ma ba phombo ran yi ma ba ha ko ai na na cha la so ba tam je ke ya chung mu ta ba tanda cha ko yor ba ne ka chan sang ta mai na teni lo la tara de do jar se teni cha ye ba ke chak chun jing de ba ji yore 다 되게 집다그들 좀반제나리 텔레자와 총거요리 남자마데 다 가르르세든 집다그들 히바데 지와미난 각바미 성도 라린 소주면 강기 죽은 롱미세진 로아미나 옹와미스 다 되게 내로도 또 고요라 간다 산지 응아속에 집다그들 잘송을 그 식선에 때 가르르스선 롱시 바르데 때 말에 추부그 동함이 바자는 거요. 제부그 동함이 바자를 간서 라힘이 바도 사데. 되네다 너도 되네 용후진스다 차에게 따라 육반진도 요 바로 봐. 다무직 대송.
So there are the three principal deities first, and then there are four wrathful deities in the four main directions. So we don't have a picture here now, but that's how the sadhana explains exactly how it should look. And so the first deity is in the east. In the east is Achala, brandishing a sword in his right hand. And that is a sign. So Achala represents the defeat of the demon of the aggregate. That the demon of the aggregate is the clinging to a self that doesn't actually exist. So we believe that there is this me that doesn't actually exist because we have a body. So based on this body, we think that we have some kind of self-identity. And that does not really exist. And that's represented by Achala. And when one realizes that, then one overcomes the demon of the aggregate. So one first practices the deity, and through this practice, first one recognizes its nature, and then as you continue to practice, you realize that your body, your aggregates, like any true inherent existence. And then when you recognize that, there is no disease, no illness that can affect you in any way. So at least even in a temporary sense. So that's number one. Then in the second direction in the south is Kamaraja holding a hook in his right hand. That is a sign of overcoming the Lord of Death, the demon of the Lord of Death. So when you realize that there is no birth, then there is also no death. When there is no arising, there is no cessation. In the 37 Bodhisattva practices, it says, he has realized that phenomena neither come nor go. If there is no coming, there's also no going. So this is what one realizes when one realizes the nature of the mind. And this is how one overcomes the demon of the Lord of Death. So then you might wonder that, so the Buddha supposedly has overcome the demon of the Lord of Death, and nevertheless he did actually die. So what's up with that? So so it's not that he doesn't leave his body behind, but there is no more suffering in relation to death because he has already realized that it lacks any true existence, any self-nature. So that's what he had realized, and that means to overcome that demon of the Lord of Death. And then third is, in the West, Niladanda wielding a bludgeon in his right hand.
Deke tarati nobdo yunghuji deke nyumobu du chongba tsongo yore. Ta nyumobu du je chongkhin je yonangune chongro goya ke tusul lebde yobari. Kanisina nyumong sidi karisina simju le ji yongba zanje madewa, mayawa, magawa je zo yongko yore ngaransala. Te inza ta nyumong hiba de chung yinba ha go ne teni pandu ke samno korgo yorwa. Teni tere, teni teo to, teni changdo topo che ye dorjin zine bandege, teni chibda, mara chibda si, hlai po du jomba tsongo yore. Ta hlai po si bande, kantar namyen ri, ngarang su semla namyen udu, teni che soso hinen rao che gomna che lu shi ke den de, teni solo ke che meta chura lungra kanyang mina yang, teni sem nang tena, ya teni tserman rao mambo che je yongo yore sem nang la. Then namdo re, namdo. Then they get draw mambo, dan, then the Rajon, then is so solata, sem hiwa the trungo yorba, tijum senatine, that the jongo yoris.
So Niladanda in the West is a sign of defeating the Mara of the afflictive emotions. And so we can really actually recognize how these are defeated when we see the fault in them. So because there's always a time when we can actually see them, they actually arise in us. So when the afflictive emotion arises, the mere presence of an affliction in our mind makes us feel uncomfortable, unhappy, not at ease in our mind at all. So we can see the fault of the afflictive emotion when it arises in our mind, and when we can see that fault, then we will have a wish to abandon the afflictive emotion. So then number 4 in the north is Mahabala with a vajra in his right hand, and that is a sign of defeating the demon of the gods. And that basically refers to our distraction. And so, for example, you might be in a state of calm, abiding meditation, and mind is at ease in a tranquil state. And so there is no disturbance. For example, there is no noises like wind or blowing or water and so on. There's nothing. The elements or everything is calm. And yet, there are these thorns in the mind that keep kind of poking you. And these are the thoughts that constantly arise within the mind and that steal all your peace and your happiness, that constantly stir up the mind. And so then when the peace and the tranquility is stirred up, then the mind becomes distracted.
Tene da dege namja lai da zomo hyogda na zo so. Zom da zomo namgyama dege tene tingso ge da nangala tene zamare ji zangri dan dola cha de yoro ji dan de de zo ge tene duzuk da pampa de duzuk gang ne tene dege da chuxi ne tene yume je ba den da chuxi ge yo ba. They tamjig layanta, Java tamji hilon to chick said that Sundun Dawde, Jiwa Omjimba, took a home de some Cindy Yoba. Then the so that Garachi youngers and then he samba that jing ba. They had yours.
And then the remaining 2 gods are above, so on page 5 in the middle, are above the central goddess, so Ushnisha Vijaya. Above her are 2 gods of pure abodes. And so these generally belong to the god realm of the desire realms. And these gods I'm holding up vases filled with nectar that stream downwards unceasingly. And so then next, at the forehead of each deity is white Om, at the throat red A, and at the heart blue Hung. And so that is also, again, a sign that all Buddhas are one within the expanse of primordial wisdom. They are all marked with the syllables Om Ahung. And so then after that, the wisdom beings are invited.
다 이히 선바도서 진진 차도 될라다 주반 보고 담보 주바의 가른 보고 요리시디 주반 나와세 엄베자 뷔베 빠드소소와 정고 쪽이도 왔더니 내외 빠드들 주반 나와시리 가레스는 주반 나와 차르스나 되는 원래 메도 그 주바 향라트 염 두부 주바 향 나라 염 두부 주바 진라 낭서 다라데 두미 주바 되는 꿀르라데 트차고 주바 야라드니 야제로 자드디 추바시 된 추바 나와시 대그 추바 보고요래.
Going to the next page. So then once we have invited the wisdom beings, first we have to make offerings to them. And we offer them first the 5 pure offerings, which is to where is it? Ulara. Yeah. So to their an offering to their crowns is first the flower offering, then offering to their noses is the fragrant incense, and offering to their eyes is the lamp light offering. And offering to their bodies is the offering of anointments, like fragrant anointments. And then offering to their mouth is the food offering.
이히 선바데 담색 선바르 땜드 다 추르 추 야바진 zel라 휴전다 데나오지 차고요로 바카갈 세야메 대와노 닌 사마야 담스타 담색 선바게 나라 유로지 스탐 히바데 육부동르와.
After that, the syllables Jahung Bamho. Actually, just those 3 syllables, we can actually speak of them, explain them for many days. And also if you would just meditate on them, you could meditate on just these 4 syllables for many days. And so basically what happens when we recite Jahung Bamho here is that the wisdom beings dissolve into the Samaya beings, which is ourselves. So the wisdom being dissolves into you, the Samaya being, just like water pouring into water or dissolving into water. So once water has merged with water, you can no longer separate the water. So just like that, wisdom being and Samaya being merge indivisibly. And then Samaya Stvam here means stability or remain with stability.
다티오도 왕글랄 다 소한다 왕 자로지 신다 소한다 고드 티네 옴 사와타 타한가다 아베 신자도 만시 다 데레 티네 옴바르 티네 다 무스타 왕나로지 신야 소한다 바 차도 요레 되긴 히바 랭아 보텔라.
So then next we are supplicating the empowerment deities to grant empowerment. So these are the empowerment deities of the 5 Buddha families. And the supplication is made with this mantra, Om Sarvatata Gata Avishikatu Mam. So with that we are supplicating those Buddhas to grant empowerment.
Teni Om Sawatatangada Abikekati Sama Hirion, Dikapsa Teni Jawarangakta Chulma Wang Nangne. Teni Hien Nismi Beton, Sita Wang Top Shiba, the Nismi Beton, Dona Wang Tomro Yorova. Flatteran San Nismi Ba. Titen the Tatingo Wang Gurne, Teni Wang Gursi, Teni Sosoka, Teni Zubotama, Tarak, Kunzubzanjo and the city, Teni Zubotama, Duzuk Kanzuma. Teni dik chok lama te ya luundu ta jiwo la teni rigda cha yung giri. Ta jiwo rigda te teni nambar nanze cha da yuwa zumo ki rigda te nambar nanze yinba dikabs.
So then after that, having supplicated to confer the empowerment, so then they actually confer the empowerment with the next mantra. So we're in the bottom of page 6. Sarvatata Gata Avishekata Samaya Shriya Hum. So with that, the Buddha, the 5 Buddha families confer the empowerment. And so receiving empowerment means to realize non-duality. So basically, when you realize non-duality, that your mind is non-dual from the mind of the deity, then you have received empowerment. And so then, once the empowerment is conferred, so then the nectar, so the nectar is poured, has been poured into your crown, has filled up your entire body. The nectar has the nature of bodhicitta, the relative bodhicitta, which then fills up your entire body and then overflows at the crown. And the overflow of nectar at the crown then turns into the Lord of the family. So in this case, in Namgyama's case, the Lord of the family, of the 5 Buddha families, is the Buddha Vairochana.
Ta ten du tene jire zegla tara rigda de wapa mi cha de yore. Tene chan dorje tang tara cho ye teke rigda de muju pa cha de yore. Lai peni ke rigda de la tene rinchin jung din cha andu ta jawa renga te tara de la guk teke ta rigda yongsar te ta cha de yore.
So that is Ushnisha Vichaya's Lord of the family. Then Chenrezig's Avalokiteshvaram, Lord of the family, so on his crown, is the Amitabha of the 5 Buddha families. And then the Lord of the family of Vajrapani and the 4 wrathful deities in the 4 directions is Akshobhya. And then the Lord of the family of the 2 gods, the remaining 2 deities, is Ratnasambhava. So these are the lords of the families of those 9 principal deities.
Ta teya tamjele deni dan chuba na dung ton dan chuban per yong ate den tambon chu yong deni hyapsar deni medo deni dobu deni marme deni tichap deni hyarze den romo den raven ta chuban per yores ta hi gang le hya den chuban na ngarwa dekas chuban na dun per ya cha de yore.
And so then to all of them we are offering them the 7-fold offering, consisting of the offering of water to drink, of water to wash the feet, then water to, flowers, incense, light, perfumed, anointing perfume, music and food. Was it? Food and music. First food and then music. So these are the 7 offerings. So previously, just before, we had those 5 pure offerings, and now we are making 7 offerings.
Tene da te o de to bare da Namgyama la to ba ji du tene da hi da gang nga chu ma bo hyu de yam ba de Namgyama tara de hyarsom cha je tene de so kare chung ko yo ba de so sem la charam ji ren ji tene hyar ne tene de so ke de so sa dambo sem la hya ba de an ta dambo ro ji ro ba tene ren ba ni ba de la de so ko yong tin de so ha go go yo ro ba yong tin de so jin tene de ba ji yong ko yong tin thong na de ba ji se 다 드니 렘지 디 용딘데 드니 소소레 책 타릉보 지를 요데바 마인바 소소 라니 그 셈지 히가 란인 데 데가랑 그 돌로 요데바데 하고고요 드니 다 타르동데 따라 이히 선바든지 진장 힌데 세제데 책 타릉보 진 진장 용바 마인바 소소 라니 셈지 잉 데가랑 네 드니 저진ring 그 요바 데다버 드니 하고고 왔다 드라차 고요르스 렘지야.
Then on the next page is the praise, and we mentioned much about that before already. And so again, when you read the praise, bring all of that to mind, the meaning of her 3 faces and 8 arms that we had mentioned. So as you read one by one, bring them all to mind. So that should arise first. And then also you should recollect the qualities of these. Because as we said, if you see the qualities, then faith will arise. And so for those qualities, we shouldn't see those qualities as something separate from us, somewhere far away from us. But actually these qualities are present in the natural condition of our own mind. Also previously, when we invited the wisdom being, it's not that we are inviting those wisdom beings from somewhere really far away, but we are actually inviting them, kind of causing them to arise from within the deep space of our own mind. So this is how we should understand when we read those lines.
Tatio the Tini not de Backups Rivata, not de Backups, Tandela Pajeba, Sheba in Tini Garicha Yerson, not so Dorje. Not so Dorje get Tewala, Tini Drumye Carbo. That Drumye Carbo taken Tala, Tini de la Nimba, the Nini, Tantini, Zonring the Sama, getting Tarant and Cordne, Tini Korajak, Tendachi, but Tendachi Goyori, Tinin Delata, Pajeba, Jepa in Tini Tike. Tara the Drumia Carbo taken doing the la, then Sosogeta, J. Setan Suna Pergosaketa, Kanzaji on the data with Jezo, the Gamne, then it take Yela Sosoke Tanya, Pamala Sobata, Yundo, then Sosoketa, Corda Lomala Sobata. Then it take a Jablo Zeland or Cantars Soso, La Downwards, Bedra, no Parsibig, Source, but in Simjin Tamchi, that take a Nankornat and Sudu, Senatini. That data which gongo yore. Then it I'm trying to so young to solo user to the gen user they are the ginki balaso batamjela yat pon tezelo yang chuba. Then it mang in song netamjela pon then it the solama jimba. Then it that take user to lion in it sir take a sound that's tembala subata the ravenia goya yores.
So we are on page 8, the last verse, where we visualize the mantra Garland. So no, on a lotus moon at my heart is a letter broom, and so on, surrounded by the mantra Garland. So that's the visualization. And so there is the broom syllable is white, and surrounded by the mantra and many levels of the mantra. There's the kind of the close, the heart mantra, and the essence mantra, the Tarani Mantra, the longer mantra. I'm turning. So more extensively, we can visualize that, or the short mantra. And so then from the mantra Garland, then light radiates. So for example, first of all, when we visualize the mantra Garland, think that within the kabanana theory, drumnala theory, mitsama. So the way we visualize how they are all included, like kind of surrounding the brum in the form of the mantra Garland, so we can include within this kind of circle of mantra those that we are praying or practicing for. So in the front of the in front of the brum syllable, you think of mainly of the ones that you're praying for their long life to their life to be expanded, or their marriage to be increased, and so forth. So we visualize those in front. And then on the right side of the brum, we visualize our parents, and on the left side, all the others, like our retinues, our disciples, and so forth. And behind the brum syllable, we visualize all those enemies who hate us and obstructors who cause harm, obstacle makers, and so forth. And then, so these are the main beings, and then we also think that all beings, so these are the principal ones, and then all beings are included. And so within this circle, and then from this mantra circle, then light radiates, and first it extends into the Pure Lands of the Buddhas, making offerings to all the Buddhas. And then it goes into the 3 lower realms and acts in generosity there. And then again, the light gathers back and dissolves into the seed syllable.
Tatio the Dini Hunting or Amerte Amritoba Vala Sobake, Hunting Terry, Dig Hunting Tene, Chitanga, Temperzig, Hunting Yin Sunkayore. Tinamade. Temperz. Teta Hinan the Yoruba. Temperzis. The Drum Sova on Amerta Ayer that the Soas, the thing not any Drum Soa Hibate, Chitang also Nimbo Yin Sunkayore. I'm heard the air that is so hard about the Yin Sunkure. Then do that the Nimbo the Yin Tang, not the Sokachepa Kare or Sidu, the Nil Lag Kandar Go Song Tok Tenzion Yonkore. Then you go then as a man, yourself a Jinam on the Gomdo you do, then go get that there's some Mambo Tramon Sabo Madin and the Yoris. Tok the young, there's some care. Mambo Madin and the Yoris, kinds and told around to send the thing in Zingal and Edio Barova, Nego Yorova, Yamnichi, to take up the take a coach yours. That song, the Mambo Dago Yoris, that the Dago at the Caresna, Ha Shibadege, Hagla the Corgo Yoris, Hagla the Corne Cladic tinning around Sola, Teletam the Drogo Yoris, or the Nasungo Yore.
Amretoti Kurve.
The 10% zonji lindo. 10% sharing.
The Drum Sohadi
Nimbo.
The Nikuson took Havan. Kusung took.
Nimbo is the Tolimba.
Nimbus in a talk. Just to Tora. Then anybody Amreta
Yens in a song.
So then he took the Lemanda.
Talking at a Zunga Koran.
Lesunga the Koran. In a Sunga Tirava.
Zunga and Bora.
I remember the took the ring Tirava.
That they end.
So then on the next page is the mantra, Amrite Amrito Bhave, and so forth. And so that mantra is in order to increase lifespan. And then next are those 2 mantras, Om Brum Soham and Om Amrita Ayotate Soham. So those 2, the first one, Om Brum Soha, is the essence mantra. And that is also the mind mantra. And then Amrita Ayotate Soham is the kind of close essence mantra, which refers to the speech, this. And then, so then later on, the mind mantra is the long Tarani actually. The long Ushnisha Vichaya Tarani is the mind. And so regarding these 3 mantras of body, speech, and mind, so for the body, we already visualize the form of Ushnisha Vichaya, and because we do that, there is no need to recite the body mantra many times. So this go Guti Umprom Sohara. Gutira.
Drum Soha, on the other saw, Nimbo, and Carl Sivaina.
Maringa Jivatire. Guti Karare. Go.
I'm not tired.
Guti, or sorry, I'm mixing up here. Go. Then Drum Soha.
The song. Song the Tarate, Zurento, Nimbo, Drum Soha.
Drum Soha Mambo Tongorati comes in there.
But they tap had Mambo Chino Zurent each other.
Yinayang
Drum Soha is Zurent are doing Barwa.
Then he talk the rimbo there.
Talking him about talking in each other. There is in a talking about Taratin and they talking in Boris.
Then Mambo Tongoati? Song there. Drum Soha.
Drum Soha Chipo Mambo Tonga Lamada. Drum Soha si Patan did Zuring Chasma. Zuring Mambo Tongo at the Euro. Song drop go your
So, sorry, so the first mantra, Om Drum Soham, is the speech, and the Amrita Ayodhata Soham is the body. So again, we don't have to recite many of the Amrita Ayodhata Soham, which is the body, because we already visualize the form of Upanishad Vichaya, the form of the deity. So we don't need to recite many of these. And then of the mind mantra, do you need talk already?
Talk things.
Also, there is no mind mantra because the mind is samadhi. So therefore, there's no mind mantra. So actually, the samadhi kind of is kind of like the mind mantra in its nature. And so then the speech mantra is the abbreviated Om Drum Soham, and elaborated, it becomes the Rani Mantra, the long mantra. And so the speech mantra, short and long version, is the mantra that we have to recite many times. That's the one that we have to repeat. So when we recite the mantra, the reason why we recite mantra is to invoke, to call upon the deity in order to accomplish the enlightened activities.
다 간다 존랭 나던 찹상 요래 엄드럼 소아스 따라데 니니 다 닝보당 차마 때는 요도 요레스 되니 양 드탑 코랑 게 드탑라 남자 라직 드바 라 드탑 당 라직 드탑 스나 테스 만다 요레 투소나 테스 카카리 용거 요레 라고당 되니 라망스 mambo 드탑 mambo도 소나니 테스 야와 카라 용도 가랑 안서 가서 봐봐라 존랭 나던 차만 되도 요바래.
So that is the Tarani to be recited, and actually within this Tarani of this entire Tarani, now putting it together as Om Drum Soa, within that actually everything is complete. Also when it becomes expanded into the long mantra, the essence mantra, the heart essence mantra, all complete within the short mantra. And so in different sadhanas of Upanishad Vichaya, there are different kind of divisions of mantras depending on how many deities are included in the sadhana. There are some sadhanas that only practice a single deity, or 9 deities, or many deities. And so here, in this case, in this sadhana, the main recitation is the longer Tarani mantra.
다드니 둔지 드바당 바 드바트 소타 너니마 로나 리사르 창 사직만 로골나 두순다 사마라 다히 강을 휴바테 직반로 차데 나야 자치 드바트 소 직바 직장 기라 제발만다 다 간다데리 다랑 아랑수다 존랭투서 돈버갑수 조 체휴데다 소소게 데네 자블라마 데네 그치 데네 윤드네야 그치도 소반데바 단다차도 요레다 냠린 탐체 그난게 냠린 하장 그 자침보치 차도 요레 되니 나랑서 제티갑서 카행 미행스는데 남행라고 된다 그 줄마송 바까세 답답게 되니 제 샘나는 류요바 말어 다라데 류나는 샘요바 남중화서 때라고 여러 딘톨로 소소그 류데 네토바 되니 소소게 류나는 샘데 네토바 되니 샘나한테는 다 지접 지퍼세블라다 쪽도 넘버자마 티콜라 Garland here mambo huba teta which tini gene tini mantune da datum tini sosola pin yin la pin tini tanak gawachimbo yongo yores.
So then there are different visualizations of the front visualization and the vase visualization and so forth. And so then we come to the recitation of the long Tarani mantra. And so while that's most important, so while you recite the Tarani mantra and the long mantra, really in your heart supplicate that for the long life, the longevity of the root guru. And actually, of the different aspects of the practice, this is most important, this is most precious. So while you're reciting this Tarani mantra, try to be free from any distraction as much as you can. And so we always say that the mind has to be inside the body, so it has to be collected, focused. So first of all, the body is in the practice place, like on your seat. And then, so the body is on the seat, the mind is in the body, so it's collected, it's not scattered. And with a collected, focused mind, you then visualize the deity, Mushnisha Vichaya, as we explained just before, and then continuously recite the Rani Mantra. If you practice in this way, it will be a great benefit to yourself and also others, and a great virtue.
Then the Zungha Hibande Lag Kusong took Sardruzi ke Tenachigla Tene Dong Tola, Detong Yishite, Pa Yigizu Harsonwaji Chadure. Detong Yishite Yigizu Harbaji Chasonre. Then Naransoga Tene Tela, Trimba the Hirap Zo Sin Zungha Dadita, Trimba the Hirap Sundar Tony Dago Songodoa. Tene Ta Namjun Naransu Tadiso Mandoyon. Nandong mo wa hiwi mambo yomar katse gogo tetini nyamlin da tsarderna tin don tam ya bo yoresa.
So then we recite the Rani Mantra in order to accomplish the deity's enlightened body, speech, and mind. And the nature of these mantra syllables is that the mantra syllables are the kind of physical manifestation, the physical representation of the wisdom of bliss and emptiness. And most important when you recite the Rani Mantra is to stay within a unified kind of state where you bring together mindfulness, awareness, so a completely focused state. And then aside from that, as you read the sadhana, recite the sadhana, and just try to understand the words in there as well as you can.
Then that day la Tunsan Kata Namjar Simna, Tunsan Namjar to Soten, around such a lag Kotimba, Teni Ha Daju, Teni Sem Mayang Bachiju, that day Karchim Bachadu Yurua, Katse Tutoke. Matsoke Tachik the Togomar, Chusu Goni Yol Yamuchi, the Tesacala Capo Yorite, then he can't to there, Aransoka hitting was the Karchim Bachado Yobarawa. Then in done Teta, Solo and Droev Gulam, then none of dead the Bonega Gulam the Soina, then Pernatara Torma Tonya, the sort to Tony Son Tamina. Pion some Machapa son, your Tormak Tonya, and Dechibo told Piona. Numa that George parting at the Capula Pebne, the name Toma Pams and Jane Soji Yorita, Della Pebdin Congines a Casarparna Gully Yene, the knee cornic a sag and terne, the knee Duzuk Jun Ma Pabne, the Rave du, the knee Lozawa Jake Jido at the du, Jean So Mapamte and Kadotam Jingersons, Jating Jane. Then it take up the Yadape Mambo, then it take a long stick by the Naji song, Kato Jaja. Chatting then Chasus, that data which Nuba Tunko Yobare. Then it around such a Julang Kun the Ranjula Ta go, so you did Chadu, then Yobaya ni say and the Zonga Dratic, Yani so song, some girls song. They are down with Namjardella. Teni ma gonda mani book of Soyache, that's Namgyama Lasobo, go gomtamnari, Yamanachi, Indra Dagi song, Zunga, Ringbo the tick ups da matana, Tunga Omdrum Sova, Amra the Ayer that is was in Yang the Nimbok and Dagra. Tanachi Tomnatini, Julan Kunduche, give us Jortaba. danda yong ko yosares kone ta jin ne ji yong ba kong ke jin ram gong ba gom de tene da de ba kong ji ne zeng o la ban jiao ba
So then for the yoga of the sessions in between sessions, so the break time when we're not in session, it is said that we should always remember the form of the deity, recite the mantra, and to remain free from distraction in our mind as well as we can. And of course, maybe we feel that we cannot always be in such a state, but even just to be in such a state for 1 hour is excellent and a little bit difficult. But we just should try to be as mindful as we can in all of our, what is called here the external or outside of session activities. And then for inner activities, for example, while we practice, it is also explained that Dorma Pura, so making like Dorma offerings and so forth are of an incredible benefit. There was one story about Atisha when he came to Tibet. He arrived at the Manasarova lake, and when he reached there, he visualized himself as Chenrezig, so he then transformed into Chenrezig, and a stream of nectar poured from Chenrezig's hand. And also, actually, the accompanying translator, the Lotsava, was there and saw that. And so then the color of the lake changed into a brilliantly white color. And then, so what his companion then observed is that this stream of nectar then pacified the hunger and thirst of the hungry spirits and so forth. So the power actually arises from engaging in such practice and making these offerings. And so then also it is said that in our day-to-day activities, always look at your own mind. And for example, when you wake up in the morning, you can think that it is the sound of the Rani Mantra that awakens you. That is called the yoga of rising. And then when you when you lie down to go to sleep in the evening, ideally you visualize the form of the deity like Ushnisha Vijaya and recite a few mantra. Even if it's not the long mantra, you can recite the short mantra that combines the essence and the heart essence mantra. And you Om Brum Soha, Om Ayatata Amrit, Ayatata Amrita Soha. Right, yeah? Mm-hmm. That one. So anyways, if you start your day with that, and then just naturally your entire day to come will become virtuous.
Tela ta kantar cherso son da madarwa song don cherso son. Now a ko cherso. Rapa song ken cherso tindo tok chin cherso son. Tek cherso son da madarwa derine te gaduena gomja de pa che tana chagu yore song do wa. Tene ta the chapsang gon talma tan deki jagon to sudok dere ke da kandar tara the zungha de sudab kapso the katse to ke suzo ke dubo dra hajang ke chimbo mai dra hajang chungchong mai rimbo tene tsik dang don so ratapo the datam na ya pinyu kal pinyu yore yang deso che dra tapo hajang ke tana da hi mina da nge da hi ma da ya yo mares kan hi te jeवन तुम्बाय ना तेल बाबा के सुनाम जो करे तो साना तेल तुब के रेवज मिंग के योचा तने आं ते कसे थबजो के तनावे ने तने जुंगा सुदा तने याबो योरेस.
So there are three kind of things, great things to take as take as the path or to kind of take up as practice, and to never separate from these three is important. And that is first to not separate from all appearances as the deity's form, from all sound as the mantra, and from all thoughts arising as like the state of awareness of the enlightened mind. So that should be sustained at all times. And so we didn't now have time to go through the entire sadhana, but this is the explanation in brief. And then also with regard to the mantra recitation, when you recite the Tarani Mantra, just do your best when it comes to the enunciation of each of those mantra syllables. It is said that one should not recite the mantra too loud, but also not too quiet, just kind of in a medium kind of volume. And also one should pronounce the syllables correctly, like enunciate each of the syllables clearly. But then also on the other hand, you shouldn't think that I don't know how to pronounce these words, so I can't do it. So don't think like that too. Just do your best. Just try to pronounce it the best you can. And there will be merit from that too, because whatever cause you create, there will be a result ripening from that. So therefore, when you recite the Rani Mantra, just recite it in the best way you can.
Chirtang sangha tapji chewa sendu che gane mam de he mongbo yore de zo de susu lu nga yisung ge driba de jikchar to da thaba danda ge tablam jing do mik je sunang gu zo da mimi hi ge cho ni nyam de zo thaba de ge tablam jing do da karer sina ngarang chul lu ge driba yo cha de ni lu la na cha la so ba dang parche mangbo yong wan de da lug drabak tin yong ko yuza de mi gona ta dara nangwa hlai ko gomde tin suso ko zubo de ran yin ga hlai ko cha de yo barwa tin lug draba ta par se ba nga ga thoni nga da yon de nga dal de nga ga draba ta tin de wendu tin ran yin ga suso che dada tamji de zungha ga ran yin tu chor yongwan de tin ko yongding ke chane atna thob yong ba Teni tog tone soso tingen zin, teni yamuna lako chinra la mikpa tena tena che dena, teni yeg drapa tadu, teni drapa sum chikchar ta ta taba che. Dega sangha ka tablan chepar chin chik dega ni yong dwa. Cho che penan dolam rao jin sangha tawa ina, ta sanje chumdin de ke loju yibya wen chikuba ina, karchin rami sum to cho sa, teni ngombar zo sangje sum rao che, rampan rao yong ko yore te, 다 ngarso darade lunga yisong ke chirso som dara ganglu kyuba de nyamne je na rangyin ke de chosa yong de de nyam de ngarang zo dari gangla de chuba nangwa dan chuba nabdön dan de tongchu dan de la soba ke toni de rangyin ke mikji suna ke cho mambo ji sa yong do de susu ke seng ko toni de 오면 chuyeni 단자남 바자 소바 에마 구함 시베 난동다 하고 소나 미미 이히 그초 대하는 다 델레 로스 주바 미미 이히 그초 사야 게 요말 띠그 난동도 소나 어때라고 제 사리 삼성.
So the practice of the secret mantra Vajrayana is one of skillful means. And of course there's much to be explained about that, but the main point is that through the Vajrayana practice, what makes it skillful is that all the obscurations of body, speech, and mind can become purified simultaneously, all at once. And one is able to accumulate both accumulations at the same time, which is the kind of conceptual accumulation of merit and the non-conceptual accumulation of wisdom. So in that sense, the Vajrayana is a path of skillful means. So it is, for example, due to our physical obscurations that we experience illness in our bodies and many other obstacles. And in order to eliminate them, we recognize that all appearances are the form of the deity, and thereby we also recognize that our own body is the deity. And when we recognize that, the obscurations of our body become purified. And then through the mantra recitation, the obscurations of speech become purified. And when they become purified, naturally all sound appears as mantra, becomes the mantra. And then regarding the mind, when the mind remains within an ongoing state of samadhi and the visualization of the deity, that purifies the obscurations of the mind. And so in this way, the secret mantra is a very unique, skillful means to purify simultaneously the three kinds of obscurations. So simultaneous is the key word here, because sometimes we also speak in terms of a gradual process, like in the sutra path, the enlightenment of the Buddha is explained as a gradual process where he first accumulated merit for 3 endless aeons, and then finally in the end he attained perfect and complete enlightenment. But now if we practice those 3 main kind of taking up as practice, those of body, speech, and mind that we just mentioned, if we practice them, then naturally and all at the same time we are able to accumulate merit, and we are making all offerings while we practice these, such as the 5 and the 7 offerings, or even the 1,000-fold offering and so forth. So we are naturally accumulating the conceptual accumulation of merit. And then also, if we in our mind understand the true meaning of that mantra in the beginning, the Om Shunyata and so forth mantra, then if you really understand the meaning of that, then just naturally within that understanding, the non-conceptual accumulation of wisdom is complete.
Sunam de tamje zikbani tovani bedana banzende chigen balon roba siben zolen roba jo sumjene ba jinye ba nyerdane le tarjer roba ne namalab dadon yoma me ba jo chanchu sunjo rumbo je machi banan jijer jiba nyamba me ba ye gong dun pe wa sho. Thank you very much.